Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's JamBox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Coconut genmaicha, a tropically inspired tea. This hearty and comforting genmaicha pays homage to the traditional preparation with the addition of semi-sweet toasted coconut, pineapple, and rose. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary. Go click the link below and check them out. Guarantee you're going to like something. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey everyone, I'm Rachel Wong.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, so I am actually from the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in Vancouver, kind of born technically in the Portland, Oregon area, but I actually grew up playing music in church a lot and choir, all that stuff, but I didn't start releasing my own music until I was up in Seattle for college, kind of around 2010. Those albums, don't listen to them, but they're online if you want to. And so I did sort of the music thing, try to figure out my sound, all that stuff, kind of in my 20s up in Seattle. And then I took a little bit of a break in 2015. I was about to move to LA. I was doing a lot of traveling from LA to New York as sort of more of a pop artist. Seattle and Portland are great for a lot of indie artists, even hip hop, but I just found more connections with producers in LA and New York. But then I met my wife, took a little bit of a break, and then actually almost a year ago to the day, I started releasing and recording music after 7 years of not.
Oh, so exciting.
A little bit all over the place, but
well, welcome back.
Yes.
What when you were first getting into it, especially transitioning kind of out of the church setting and more into your own music, who were some of the influences for you during that time?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's hard. I think, especially now that I kind of categorize myself as pop R&B, there's definitely that soulful element of church, even though it's,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of church in R&B as well, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people kind of come from that setting.
Yeah, but I am 100% a, 90s millennial too, so I listen to a lot of boy bands. I listen to a lot of R&B group bands. And so there was a lot of influence with that. 100%. Yep. Boys to Men, Maya, Leah, all that stuff. But also Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, all that good stuff. And so definitely influenced by a lot of popular culture kind of music. And then I always joke that it's not ironic that I ended up writing kind of pop music because most Christian songs have very basic pop chords, and you remove the capital Y-O-U and change it to a lowercase or remove God and, whatever. And it's sort of just a basic pop love song. So
I think South Park did an episode about that way back in the day.
Yeah, listen to Hillsong. All that is not, they're tailoring to the same group of people. But I personally am not religious anymore. So I appreciate probably the most impactful sort of spiritual experiences that I had in church were when I was singing, and it was the only thing that made sense to me. So I appreciate the idea of my origin story being at a place where I just felt like myself when I was singing and writing.
Well, that and some churches have a full production.
Yeah, mine was definitely not that. I went to a Chinese American church where it was me and my siblings basically leading music pretty much every week. But that was definitely what I was influenced by, was just a lot of sort of, relatively basic chord progressions, but writing kind of meaningful music and trying to contain a story in like a relatively simple structure of a song. And that definitely went into how I wrote music, like when I started to. Also, though, a lot of the songs are not great in the beginning, as it always is.
Yeah.
You know? Don't have a lot of life to live, and then you're influenced by that kind of typical progression and story. And so I definitely appreciate it. I played a lot of guitar and piano kind of growing up, and so that's where I started a lot of songs that I wrote. But what's been interesting to see kind of where I've gotten to now is like I'm sort of now finally writing and producing music the way that I wanted to sound, but I haven't been able to really articulate when I first started releasing music in Seattle, when I was just like, yeah, let's release a song with this friend who does producing, or I don't have a ton of money, so I'll work with that producer here. So
no, totally.
It's been cool.
Oh, yeah. Now, for this next question, this is one that we ask early. It's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was one of the first albums you ever bought with your own money?
It's funny you brought up Boys to Men, but I think it's like, what is it, 4 Seasons or Seasons of Love or something? There was that one. I think was actually a cassette tape where flip it back and forth. I think at a garage sale, I think I was really into Friends, and so I got the like soundtrack to Friends just for the "I'll be there for you." And yeah, Backstreet Boys. I was like a big BSB fan. Yeah, I like them all. I like NSYNC too, but
yeah, you had to pick one back in the day.
Yeah,
back in like it was kind of, even if you listened to both, because growing up I definitely had a grip of them in the house as well. But you always had to pick one.
You had to pick a side. I was team BSB at the time. I just think the songs were better.
See, I was always 98 Degrees.
I also liked 98 Degrees.
I just something about their music resonated a little stronger.
I liked all of them. LFO is a little racist, but I also liked them as well. And BB Mac from the UK. I liked all of them, and that it. Like I said, I liked all the kind of like pop groups that were around and accessible, you know.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was like one you wanted to go to.
Yeah. This is kind of an embarrassing, hilarious story, but my freshman year of high school, that's when American Idol, the first season of American Idol came out. And I fuck with Kelly Clarkson.
Okay.
Like, I love Kelly Clarkson. And I liked everybody who was on that show too. So I actually had to like make my mom lie when I was trying out for basketball, because it was during tryouts that I just left early because I wanted to go to this like concert with my friend, and we were young, 14 at the time. So like our dads were there with us at this American Idol concert. To this day, my mom, she's still mad about it. But I remember the coaches, because it was like I was in between being like JV or freshman team or something. And they're like, your daughter will not make JV if she doesn't stay for this thing. And my mom's like, I do not give a fuck. Yeah. She was like, they called me at my work. I did not even care. But she's like, I'm not going to lie for you again. So, that was one of my first concerts at the Rose Garden, when it was the Rose Garden.
Oh yeah.
I also went to the Jingle Ball when they had that too. So I guess I like a collection of artists kind of concerts. But I didn't go to a ton when I was like in high school. I went to more music when I was in my 20s. Definitely.
Yeah, like when I really think back, I realized like I went to one super early on. The first one I ever went to, I was 16. It was for my birthday, and I got to go to Ozfest up in Seattle. Same thing.
Nice.
My mom took me because my dad wouldn't let me go in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I went to another one again until like way like senior year. I think I went and saw Motion City Soundtrack, the Black Keys, and Panic at the Disco.
That's amazing.
For the Honda Civic tour. They were touring for that was down in the Bay Area. That was in San Francisco.
Oh, dang.
But it was when they were touring for their Pretty Odd album. So that was like the time to see them. They had ditched the theatrics, but they were still just crushing it. The original lineup and everything. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. So I saw a lot of live music obviously in college, but I didn't really do that as much like growing up. It was a lot of the like mixture of shows. I'd go to like So You Think You Can Dance concerts or whatever. But I loved it. I mean, like I said, I fuck with Kelly Clarkson. She's awesome.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And then before we move into more you as the present artist.
Yeah.
what would you say was the deciding factor for getting back into it after all these years?
Yeah. I mean, I think, honestly, I think a lot of people probably struggle with this after I had my daughter 2019 of December of 2019, so right before COVID hit, and then I got laid off on my like corporate job like right before 2 weeks before my maternity leave was up. And I think having a baby during the pandemic, I've had been writing music throughout all this time, but I just wasn't releasing it, or I wasn't there. I would start something, I wouldn't finish it, or music was more on the back burner. But after having a baby, it just sort of felt like I lost a sense of myself. And then the pandemic hit, and it was just rough, kind of like mental health, emotionally and stuff. And so I kind of just decided I wanted to start getting back to things that made me really happy. And that was music, and living life a little bit, gave a little more depth to sort of the songs that I was wanting to write, the like music that I was really trying to make and put out there. And then I think part of it too is like, especially being an independent artist and doing all these things by yourself, and like the money and the hustle and the grind of all of it, like I just wanted to do it for me, you know, and to like leave some shit behind that my kids would like be able to listen to and that I would be really proud of. And so I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, I want to start actually doing this now, and not just like, you know, playing to play kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into you in the here and now. You know, I have a feeling this is going to be a very easy answer, but the first one we always ask is, how did you pick your name?
It is my name. I honestly, to be completely, if I was creative enough, I wish I would have done something different, especially because like hilariously or non-hilariously, like my legal name is my like hyphenated with my wife, which is Rachel Wong. Not that much different from Rachel Wong. And so I still go by it because I have a catalog of music and, you know, years of performing and writing and releasing stuff before my 7-year break that I was like, I don't feel like starting all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just my God-given parental name. And
Easy
then
enough.
I just dropped the legal hyphen, which doesn't make my wife happy, but you know.
I mean, I could see it being, at least for like physical text, a little bit easier to manage.
Honestly, to be honest, hyphenated names, if you're getting married, don't do it, because the systems are not all aligned.
No, they do
Travel,
not. They do not love
medical,
the dash in the middle.
No. There's a lot of systems where if you're inputting something, even if you order pizza at like Bellagio's or something, like they'll be like, "Oh, we can't." Shout out Bellagio's. You can't put a hyphen there.
No,
it's not fun.
They do not make it easy.
No.
Also, I've heard that in the process, you get to change your last name to your name to whatever you
that
want.
Friends episode. Yeah. Princess Banana Hammock from Phoebe.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, if I was going to do it, I feel like I would want to change it to something completely different.
Yeah.
Like, but
I wish I was creative enough. I just never was. So I was like, I'm just going to use my name, and that's what I rocked with and performed with for too long.
Fair enough. So. And then let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process.
Yeah.
And we're gonna break it up into pieces, but we're gonna start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, so it's time to make music, you are in the mood, you want to sit down, you want to create something.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you do in the beginning to start a track?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I just dropped my newest single, Simple Love, yesterday. Nope. 2 days ago. And that, by the
time this comes out, it'll been a couple weeks.
Yes,
but
for sure. But I really went to my producer and I was like, I love 90s R&B and I want to write a 90s R&B song like that's like in the sounds of like Tamia and Sade, and like so with that one we kind of just worked together on being like, okay, let's find this sound and then let's write a love song about it. But that's newer than how I've typically written songs before. A lot of it, sometimes the music comes first, sometimes the lyrics come first, but there's certain songs that came out of like really painful or just monumental kind of moments, like I wrote a song when my wife and I first started right after I was getting through like a pretty bad like suicidal depression time called Clarity. There was another time where I had a little bit of a faith crisis because I was dealing with like infertility called Temper. Like it just kind of, it depends on the where I'm at in terms of the writing process. It's interesting now that I'm like just a boring suburban housewife with kids. Like a lot of the times I'll kind of keep like a running list of notes that's just like, I kind of feel like writing about this kind of experience, or, you know, I love, like, I'm just an like empathetic person. So I take in a lot of like stories and experiences that like my friends or family are going through, and I kind of just keep a running list of like, this is a cool idea, and like write it down and go from there. So it really just kind of depends.
Oh yeah. And then once you have a song finished, so you got a track already written and you're like ready to start practicing it, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable performing it?
That's an interesting question too, because like I have been focused a lot on writing and crafting the songs that like I want to do now, but a lot of that is being off. It's like offline, like especially because I've been working with a couple different agencies too to like put my music, like to place it for sync in like different TVs and movie shows, which has been super interesting and a new exciting kind of venture, but that's like vastly different from performing.
Very much so.
And so on Friday, I actually performed in front of a live crowd to my songs, and I love it, but like it was an interesting situation where it was like an acoustic show, but I was like singing to my backing track, so it was like no vocal amplification, but an amp playing my backing tracks kind of a situation. I love playing live. I think if you are playing with a guitar or piano in Portland or Seattle, typically people see that as like, oh, you're like an acoustic indie kind of artist. Yeah. Which is like, it's just a different vibe than when you play like I've headlined at like Pride, right? Like there's a different vibe to that. Yeah. For me, I love when I finish a song, I'm ready to start singing it in front of people, just because like I want to share it, and I think it's the coolest thing. You get that dopamine rush of like, I finished it and I want to share it, I want to show it, and it's super, super cool. But yeah, for me personally, I love performing. I think it's just figuring out finessing now that I'm less of a acoustic artist and more like produced, like what that show experience really should look like, because I haven't really invested as much time doing that yet.
Fair. Do you have any interest in like performing with a band in the future, or like having more supporting artists on stage with you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's just a matter of like the collaboration, and
coordinating
that community and trying to dust off my knees to like perform in a different sort of way. But yeah, definitely. It would be awesome. Like I joke with my producer all the time. I'm always like, yeah, it would be cool to like open for Fletcher, or open for bigger, like any gay artist running through, pop artists coming through Portland, I'll hop on stage for you. Like, I think it would be really fun.
Oh yeah. And then to kind of finish up the focus on the writing portion, looking back on the last year is really how we've been posing the question. Yeah. How has your process changed?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been different being like, yo, let's try this type of music, which I think has pulled something out of me that probably also because I'm working with a producer in releasing singles. So it's not necessarily like an album. It'll be like, yeah, I've got this song from my vault that I've left, I've written, not finished. Yeah. How should we do this? How should we do that? It's been interesting kind of evolving what I thought the song would sound like when I've written it, just like the structure of it, the melody, etc., on piano or guitar, and like seeing it kind of evolve, and then also me being involved in that process, being like, hey, I don't really love that thing. I want to try and pull in this sound or this influence, and these different sort of like songs as influences. So that's like a different, it's been a different exercise in terms of writing, but it's obviously resulted in like music that I actually am like, oh, this is what I've been wanting to sound like for a while, So.
And I think there's something to be said for like being able to pull from a concept to incorporate into a sound that you're working on. Yeah,
it's definitely been like a new creative process that's been almost like kind of invigorating, to think about like what I am and who I am as an artist, Yeah. I feel like I've done a lot of really cool shit, in the course of 10 to 15 years doing this. And there's been a lot of like almosts with like, like The Voice and American Idol. And like I got to play at the Troubadour in West Hollywood for this like Guitar Center contest. That was really, really awesome. all of these things just, they get you chase this high, you get there, and then you kind of like go down from that. And so it's been interesting and also really nice to kind of be like, you know what, I just want to do this stuff for me. And if the good stuff comes from it, like placements and money and the streams or whatever, that's great. But what's worked out is that like it has been really, really well received, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. And then for this next one, I want you to look at your current sound. So like we'll use the single you just put out, the ones that you have coming up.
Yeah.
What are some characteristics and attributes of your sound that you enjoy?
Yeah. I think what's interesting is I've always been like, yeah, I'm a soulful pop artist because like I have a soulful voice, but like the soulful or R&B influences have never really been like injected into how my music sounds. And I think part of it is I'll come to producers. I've come to producers with just me and my guitar and nothing else, like especially when I was younger. And so I think what's been really cool and interesting is that I finally like put out kind of more of an R&B like production and melodies and all of that into the songs that I'm putting out. And it's been like pretty well received. Like, especially like I mentioned growing up, like singing in choir and stuff, like I can sing really high, but I also like have a really sweet spot being like kind of a mezzo. Yeah. And so a lot of people are like, ooh, I like when you're kind of just like not as like, you know, doing the diva runs or the high vocals and just like sitting back and like
kind of living in that range that you most comfortable in.
And so it's been fun to kind of be like, okay, I guess I'm going to try and push myself a little bit further, have a little bit more depth than the pop songs that I typically write, and jump into this sort of like more sultry vibe that has been really fun to kind of explore. And we're definitely going to start exploring that a little bit more this year too.
Very Sade.
Yeah. Trying to. Asian Sade, Chinese Sade. Yeah.
And then what is your goal with music? What do you want from it?
Yeah, man. Hitting with the hard questions. I mean, I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit, like literally, like I'm a UX designer. Like that's how I make real money. And I actually just left my job at a pretty high paying tech company.
Oh, damn.
Like before the holidays, because my wife and I like really realized I was climbing that corporate ladder, and I've got really great connections with like people up top, but I just wasn't happy. Yeah. And so I'm hoping, my goal is to just lean into who I feel like I actually am as an artist and release that stuff repeatedly. I'm also like pretty interested in the music placements of it all, and having a more sustainable kind of music career and being able to still write songs that still feel like me, but that could actually help fund making more music like that. Obviously, sure, it would be great to like tour and do all that stuff, but like I'm also realistic. Like I'm in my mid-30s and I sing pop music and like I've got kids, and so I just want to be able to kind of like perform with, collaborate with a lot of like artists that I feel like are more my sound, and play shows that feel like more true to me, and maybe not as much like just the environment that I'm performing in, you know, in certain cities and stuff. And I would love to like, you know, be able to like watch TV with my kids and be like, yeah, it's me. or have them like, especially, you know, with kids, like they love my music, which they have no choice really. Part of them, but
fans by association,
basically. But it would be fun to like have them be on like a couple records or like be a part of the process too. So
are they expressing any interest in like playing or performing music at all?
Yeah, totally. They both do. My son is 10 and my daughter is 4, and like my daughter I used to sing, well, she's 4, so you know TV is there and whatever, and so she loves freaking Baby Shark. But like when she was a baby, I would just sing my songs or like R&B and whatever, and so she used to sing like Lizzo when she was like 1, or like you know, other music, and my son, he's about to be in middle school, so like he he's all about like, oh, let's do TikToks together, or let's like, let me come up with this dance or whatever. So, and he's done a little bit of piano and guitar, and he's got this little band with his little friends too. So it's really cute. But yeah, I would just love to kind of like leave behind music that they like and write good stuff. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then to round out this middle portion, and this is probably the densest question in the interview.
All right.
But
ready.
we talked a lot about what happens from music, the actions, the reactions, the goals, the occurrences. But at the end of the day, when it's you and the music one-on-one, what does it give back to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think like I sort of mentioned it in passing and whatever, but like I struggle a lot with like mental health and purpose and depression and all of it. And so I think when it's just me, where I'm just singing and I'm just writing, like I feel like almost always that's what makes the most sense to me. Like being able to sing and being able to play. Like I was in piano lessons when I was like 3, which at that point you're just clapping hands and banging along. But you know,
a lot of Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Yeah, I will say like what I do appreciate about, you know, my parents bringing us to church and doing all that stuff too is that like we were always exposed to music really early on. And I think, especially looking back now as an adult and as a parent, like I do think that music was one of those things that is very like woo-woo, floofy, but like it was one of those things that was like therapy to me. I think it was probably the only place that I felt really safe. To be honest, it was the only thing that made a ton of sense to me about church is when I was being able to like sing and perform and, you know, eventually write. And so when it's just me and music, it kind of just feels like that is the story that makes the most sense to me, you know, especially, you know, being suicidal many times in my life. Like I never really saw a future where I was married and I had kids. And so when I do get to kind of just like close my eyes and write and sing, it just kind of feels like that is the most me, of being able to just be myself and like put something down, even if it sucks and nobody listens to it, you know? So.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah,
for sure.
Now let's go ahead and let's move on to some hypothetical questions.
All right.
And for these ones, the sky's the limit. The questions are all made up, so the answers are too. And the first one's a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah.
But if you could work with any one person in the world, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
I feel like this is tricky because I'm definitely one of those people that still think Tupac is alive, like somewhere. Because although now they found his like, I think his killer, so maybe not. Oh man, this one is hard. I mean, also because like I love Whitney Houston, she's also not here. So, anybody. We're talking producer or
anybody.
You know, this probably surprises most. I would maybe work with Tori Kelly.
Okay.
I love Tori Kelly. I actually listen to her a lot.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, you know, before all this started, we were talking about YouTube and stuff. And so I did a lot of the like YouTube bathroom things in the early to, you know, 2010s. And I feel like she's an incredible artist. I draw a lot of influences from her when I write now as like kind of a pop soulful artist. And I think she's an incredible vocalist. Like I fuck with like very soulful singers. And so it would be cool to kind of collaborate and do a track with that. Ariana Grande is amazing too, but I can't do vocal runs, so that would just be embarrassing for me.
I can't either, so I get that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think I would say Tori Kelly. She also produces some of her own stuff, too, so.
Oh, yeah. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Yeah, gosh, that's kind of a trick question. But Bren Boy, we've talked about doing some collaborations. Shout out Bren Boy.
B-Boy.
Bren Boy. And I'm going to be on his show in a week or so. But I think it would be really cool to actually collaborate with other kind of MCs and hip hop artists, especially as like a vocal like headliner. I think any sort of kind of collaboration with artists like that. I also we've IG like each other's stories and we follow each other. We just, react to each other's things. But Alana Rich, she's another kind of pop R&B artist around here as well, and another kind of Asian American woman like Boss, that I think it would be really dope to kind of connect with.
No, I think that would be a great collaboration for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits.
Okay.
But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access, building stability, power, guaranteed best lineup, guaranteed best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
If it was like the dopest crowd and they actually had it, I don't even know what it's called, which is going to be more embarrassing to me online. But in Singapore, they have these gardens where there's these giant towers of it's actual greenery, and there's also lights on top, and there's towers and bridges where they connect to each other.
Oh,
I feel like if there was a way, kind of like how Vegas has figured it out, sort of, where you could create a stage environment where you're performing in to cool ass lights and a water-esque show plus being high up, I think it would be cool.
Hell yeah.
To do something like that.
Hell yeah.
Maybe.
That would be awesome.
Or something, like Roman Coliseum or something like that. You know what I mean?
That is strangely not a frequently picked answer, but that one just makes sense in my head.
Maybe it's because my kids watch that Super Mario movie a lot, but especially with the Donkey Kong scene, I'm yeah, 100%, that would be dope.
Oh, yeah.
But again, acoustics would have to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a Coliseum. I think that was part of the design was the acoustics.
Yes, not just murder and
all that other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. And then wrapping up the hypothetical questions. If you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have just put out an album last week, they could have not put out an album in 100 years. Who would you want an album from?
I don't know if we're just on track with the 90s stuff, but I want Aaliyah. I want another album from Aaliyah.
Hell yeah.
I feel like the way she went out was not fair. Also, a little too scary fitting with the freaking Alaska Airlines door flying off of Portland.
Yeah.
But I thought she was so talented and so good at such a young age. And then the way that she had to go out was a bummer. So I think another album from Aaliyah would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. I always try to answer this question as well when I can think of new ones. And we're going to stick with the theme. I would want another Destiny's Child album.
Yes.
But full group. Full group. And I would say
all three.
Yeah. I would say early 2000s too.
Yeah.
Right in that point in time.
Yeah. That was definitely one of my first albums too. Loved it.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Oh, I mean, they were incredible.
Yes. That was when they would make their appearances on the Smart Guy and stuff. Felt the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
All the Disney Channel people, for sure.
Ooh, now I want another That's So Raven album.
That could happen too.
Hell yeah.
Cheetah Girls.
Yep.
Prometheus. Those are all good. Those were all the songs that I would listen to, which is kind of hilarious because my parents didn't listen to any of that stuff. They listened to Amy Grant and sports radio.
That's when I think back to all the stuff my parents would put on in the car and how I can remember all of it and I didn't ever my stepmom would listen to Enya. And
also vibes.
Yeah, quality jam. But quality. I can't think of a time I ever put on an Enya track.
Spa days.
Right.
Is that out? No, man, I love it. I also think that there's a lot of Disney songs that came out of TV shows and because I used to watch I forget what it's called, but when they would drop a new Disney movie, original movie every Friday or something. The Smart House one was really good. Obviously Kim Possible is the best.
Yeah.
That's why I listen to that with my kids now.
Was Lizzie McGuire Disney or was she Nickelodeon?
No, she was Disney.
Yeah. I mean, the Lizzie McGuire movie was quality.
Quality.
Yep. The Even Stevens movie.
Yep. And she's a great singer too.
Yeah, she is.
Ren.
Didn't she? Her and Lizzie McGuire did a movie, Cadet Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cadet Kelly.
Yeah.
All the Camp Rock ones are a little.
I mean, you can't have all of them be 100%.
I will say, besides Tori Kelly, I'm jumping all over the place for you, so great. Have fun editing this. But I love Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
Another one too that like I really, really connected with her music. I mean, she's obviously in close age to me, but like what I appreciate about her is that she also seems like, or they seem like they rock with whatever they feel like in the moment, kind of like, you know, who you are as an artist isn't like a linear kind of track. Yeah. And I like them again because I've just deeply connect with artists who have soulful voices. Yeah. But they can fuck with like, you know, the rock side of things too, and the pop, really kind of like bubbly pop and more soulful. And I love it.
You know, he's a little bit of a controversial character now, but I think somebody who falls in that category oddly well is CeeLo Green.
Yes. Yeah. I love CeeLo Green. Like, where is that guy?
You know, he...
Wasn't he a judge on like a show for something? He's Puff Daddy?
He's all over the place. And like, he never really settled on a sound. That's the thing is, it's hard to grab onto a CeeLo Green album. Yeah. Like, it's hard to like
Forget You is one of my favorite songs to perform when I was performing live.
Well, that his voice is incredible. It's
the range.
It's so unique. And him as a person was so abstract. Like, it was hard to ever understand him. Yeah. And again, I know that there's some stuff from his past that came up, and you know, that's unfortunate. But
Hollywood be Hollywooding lately.
Yeah, but I mean, as a musician, there was never a point in time where I would hear CeeLo on something and not be like, this is amazing.
No, it was amazing. All that stuff is great. Yeah, I love CeeLo Green.
Actually, I want another album from him.
I want another Bruno Mars too.
Yeah.
But like,
you know what?
Bruno that we first experienced when he first came out.
You know, I really like what he's doing with Anderson .Paak.
Yeah, like, it is good. It's like kind of that vibe.
I really want more of that.
Yeah.
Like I am so here for that sound.
Yeah.
I think that Anderson really brought out something special in Bruno with that. And if we can just get more of that, I'll take that as well.
Yeah,
like
totally.
That was it. When I first heard the first single, I was like, oh my God, Silk Sonic is, I mean, first of all, getting a shout out from Bootsy Collins, like having him open your album is already amazing.
Yeah, totally.
And then the whole album just didn't miss. Yeah. So I'm personally, I'm a Silk Sonic fan. I'm on board with it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Bruno. Bruno also is just like, he's somebody kind of like Ryan Tedder who like write bops that I love, you know, like I love UK pop music, which I always try to be like, that's who I am, but didn't ever release it. But like, I love Adele. I love Sam Smith. I love most of the pop artists because they just have such a soul influence to how they write. I mean, even like if you listen to like the Beatles and stuff, like some of their stuff is just like, there's more soul to it than us Yanks. But Bruno Mars wrote All I Ask of You from Adele. And that's another one where so good.
Well, also, I think he is one of those artists who he is so talented that he just brings on and out so much more talent in the people around him.
Right.
And I mean, you know, Mr. Talkbox being on 24 Karat Magic was an incredible feature. 100%. Like it just, every artist that he works with always gives 110%. And he's just out here doing his thing at the same time.
Yep, basically.
So as long as they don't keep putting him next to super tall people, I think he's got enough energy.
He's a short king.
He's got enough energy to be much bigger than he seems.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You know, Bruno Mars, I remember, I'm just flying all over the place, but like I remember when I looked up Bruno Mars' real name, I was like, dang, Bruno Mars is such a cool stage name.
I didn't know it wasn't his real name.
Yeah, no.
What is his real name?
I don't know. I forgot. But it's something very like simple, like, you know.
Just like Steve.
Yeah. Steve, Bruno Mars. No, but it's not Bruno Mars. And I feel like his regular name is also cool though, too.
Well, I'm
should
okay
have
with
chose
him being
a name
Bruno.
That wasn't, if you look up Rachel Wong, you're not going to find me immediately.
Fair.
The SEO game is not strong.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Oh, yeah. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start wrapping this up. Why don't you tell us what we can look forward to, say, the first quarter of 2024?
Yeah, just, you know, follow me on Spotify, on IG and TikTok. My handle's Ray, R-A-E, Can Sing. And I'm definitely going to be coming out with trying to release a new single every other month. And just look out for me and some of my stuff. My single just dropped, Simple Love. Check that out. Follow me and stay tuned for the new releases.
And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
No.
That's totally fine. All right, well then we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Yeah.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. Guarantee you're going to like it. But with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel exists more on the obscure side, but is one you think everybody should know?
It's not obscure, but Spice World?
Okay.
It's one that still hits.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those albums where, especially, no disrespect, because it's my genre, but it's rare sometimes that you have a pop album where most of the songs kind of slap.
Yeah.
And Spice Girls, Spice World has like track after track that takes you a little bit on a journey. And I do think they're one of those, relatively like, they're iconic, but they're not like, wow, Posh is this incredible voice and whatever. I do think that all of their voices actually work really well together as a group.
Yeah, they were definitely on the same level as like performers.
Of course, Sporty Spice was given leads and all that stuff, but there are certain songs that are slower that I definitely should not have been listening to as a child, like when two become one. But I like that album. It's not obscure, but it is one that I think, like, if you go back and listen to it now, you'd be like, this still slaps.
I guarantee you there are plenty of people now that have not sat down with that album in years. So it's definitely a good rec.
It's also like,
they were no S Club 7, but
no, S Club. Oh shit, S Club 7. Actually, that was also another great group.
Yeah,
came out of that time.
Yeah.
Also watched their movies and their shows and all that stuff as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. First of all, thank you for letting us go down this entire 90s callback.
I love it.
That was a lot of fun.
It was all my plan to get you all to listen to Simple Love. You succeeded then. On all the platforms.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for having me out. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Rachel Wong.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.